Good evening, and you're watching the Jungle Gyms podcast. I'm your host, Gavin, and tonight we're joined by Paddy and McGinty. Today is Friday, the 17th of September. Paddy, how you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. Yourself? I am absolutely shattered. I've been working all day and bloody non-stop for the last couple of weeks. So we've not been on, obviously, as the viewers will have noticed, hopefully.
Well, you sound like a trooper. Thank you very much for making it tonight. McGinty, how you doing, mate?
Aye, not too bad as well. It's been a nice couple of weeks off. Unlike Paddy, some of us had a vacation. I managed to enjoy the last 2 weeks. But it's good to be back.
Well, I think we did actually have a wee chance to enjoy ourselves. So, apologies to the viewers because we've not had an episode in close to 2 weeks now. The reason being was that McGinty was on tour. He came down from the Shetland Islands, and he joined the mainland by ferry, and he worked his way down from Aberdeen down to Glasgow. And we actually took advantage of that. So the podcast members had our first meeting in person, and we went out to support Celtic. We went to the Celtic B team, the Pennycar Stadium, and we were playing. Guys, what was the team we were playing?
Gala Ferrydean.
Gala Ferrydean.
Mm-hmm.
They were actually a no bad outfit. I don't know how long they've been going for, but they look far more physical than us. So anyway, so that was last Wednesday. We went out there. It was like a quarter to eight kick-off. There was a no bad turnout from the Celtic fans. There was about 1,200, I believe. I was talking to the lassie who was serving me pies at half time, and that's the figure that she quoted for the attendance. Guys, it was actually a great meeting up. Paddy, first time meeting you. It was a fun occasion and getting to actually see the Celtic B team for the first time. I thought the standout for me was uh, Lawal, Bosun Lawal, was that his name?
Yep.
Centre back. I was watching his performance and I think like he must be like man of the match every week. So we won 2-0. Correct me if I'm wrong, 2-0. It was a good kind of watching the grassroots football. Paddy, some game. What did you think it?
Same as yourself. I think it's always good to kind of see your players that's in your youth team. But it's even better to see them close up. But,
By the way, can I interrupt? When I say some game, it wasn't really some game. I don't even know why I said that. It was just, it was good to be a part of that atmosphere. I know it was good to be part of that atmosphere. The game was okay. The game was okay, but let you go, Paddy.
it's kind of back and forward, as you say, the Gala Ferrydean, they've been on the go for about 2013. I think they're a Highland side, but they've got adults playing for them. I did recognise one player, Danny Galbraith. I'm sure he played with Hibs some years back.
I recognise the name.
That was a guy that looked about 45 in the team.
Oh, the hard one that came off in the second half, tattoos and everything. He looks like a grown ass man compared to the kids we had on the pitch.
That's the guy that you were shouting the ball at, and then as soon as he turned and looked at you, you ran away the toilet. But no, obviously, Wasun Lawal, he was the standout. Excuse the pun, because he literally stood out to the rest of these kind of slight young guys.
And that was the guy that we got for Watford. He got like player of the year for the youth academy.
He was player of the year for Watford B or Watford Youth.
I think you can see him getting that for us as well this year. From what we saw, he looks absolutely standout, as we say. He'll be player of the year.
Do you know what he looked like? Obviously, it was a B team, but him and that team was like it was almost like a version of Virgil van Dijk in the SPL. You know what I mean? He was absolutely supposed to. He was throwing it. There was wee guys bouncing off him. You know what I mean? He was getting the ball. He was taking about 5-6 seconds to look up, take a pass. But he was a standout, Gav, as you say. But I like the wee goalie. I say the wee goalie. He's a big boy. Toby Olawumyu. Excuse my pronunciation.
No, you got it spot on.
Oh, thank you very much. No, he was very, very good. Very commanding. Like cat-like reflexes as well. Very good to watch.
Aye. McGinty, I know that you really harp on about youth development for Celtic, so that was like probably your first experience of seeing the new setup, the Celtic B team. Were you kind of happy with the amount of people that actually turned out? Obviously, there was a lot of mums and dads and stuff like that, and friends of the players, but we even saw a wee celebrity in front of us, John Fallon, who was the reserve goalkeeper for the Lisbon Lions.
Aye, it was. I say it was about 1,200 or so was a turnout, and I was actually quite surprised that we filled so much that one stand. Obviously we didn't open the rest of the stands at any point, but I was actually really surprised how many people turned out, and I hope that's a gimme for most games, because that will do the boys a lot of good encouragement, having a bit of support behind them, even if it is sometimes the negative comments that a few of the members around us might have shouted with frustration. But overall, I thought the standard was better than I expected, considering they are 17, 18-year-old boys. They were playing against some mid-20s, early 30-year-old guys in the opposing team, which is fair enough. That's the league that they're in. That is who we'll come up against. But I think there's a few that did quite well. As you said, young Bosun Lawal done really well, literally head and shoulders above everyone in our squad. And he didn't shy away from any of the grown men from the opponents. He was very dominant in the air. He was very confident with his clearances and assured when he knew he had to just hook the ball away at times. The keeper, as Paddy says, cat-like reflexes for a few saves. Keeping a clean sheet was very good. Again, considering the level that they're playing at, there's some not seasoned pros, but there's people who've been in that league for a few years who know how to score a couple of goals and know how to play football at that level. So it was good to see the keeper confident in himself and confident in his box. I'm going to add one more name, and it's not just because his mother was sitting in front of us, but young Rocco Vata. I thought he actually played really well down that right-hand wing. I can't remember the boy who was on the left wing. I wasn't unimpressed with the boy on the left wing, but you could see that he was waiting for something to happen for him rather than making something happen. Whereas Vata, you could see, was just eager to get on that ball and run forward, and I think he did create one of the goals, if I'm right in saying.
The boy on the left wing actually set up the first goal in the first half. Yeah.
Good on him. But yeah, for me, Vata was the other of the. If we had to pick three names or pick a name each, he was the one that kind of impressed me.
There certainly was a Vata attraction. I would definitely admit at the game. Paddy, hi mate.
I'm listening.
Paddy, you were having a wee bit of banter with John Fallon sitting in front of you. What was going on there?
Just some usual banter. I think you were quite taken in with a wee moment, weren't you?
Aye. What was that? So it was like a father came down and spoke to you, and did they ask you, like, is that John Fallon sitting in front of you? Is that what he said?
No, he just asked me. I just got a tap on the shoulder and turn around, and there's this guy sitting behind me, and he's like, he says, "Excuse me, mate." He says, "Is that a Lisbon Lion sitting in front of you?" And I said, "Aye, that's John Fallon." I said, "Ex Celtic goalkeeper, Lisbon Lions." He's, "Oh, all right, aye, brilliant." And then a couple of minutes later, he's dragged his young boy down. He's like, "Excuse me, Mr. Fallon, can I ask you a question?" He's like, "What is it, mate?" He's like, what was it? He says, my boy's an aspiring goalkeeper. An aspiring goalkeeper, and he says, the only thing is, he says he's got a bit of a mental block about diving down to his right. He says, if you get any tips, and he looked at him and went, "Aye, tell me fucking dive for it."
Man, he really set him up for that.
Priceless, mate.
I don't know who was more embarrassed, the son or the father.
I think definitely the son. The son sat two rows in front for the rest of the game, and then he looked back at once.
Well, I guess we'll hear of the son if he does make it, for those wise words for John Fallon there.
Be interested if we get called up to his testimonial in about 20 years.
Stranger things have happened. But anyway, guys, we're here to talk tonight about the post-match review of Real Betis and Celtic. Out of the teams that we drew for the Europa League group stage, that was probably the one team that had a bit of romanticism about, and especially the away leg going to Seville, the return of Seville. Obviously not the same stadium where we played in Sevilla, the Sevilla stadium, but the city nonetheless, the locals. I heard that they were quite abashed by the fact that we were not allowed to get tickets for the game. Again, I think we saw a few who'd infiltrated, a few Celtic fans had infiltrated the stadium. Paddy, did you hear somebody about somebody hiding a toilet?
I just seen a story getting put up on Twitter, and it was this young fella, and he went to the stadium early, and I think he hid in a toilet for about 4 hours or something. He took a photo himself in the toilet, and then the next night's back, I've not been caught. He's put a photo himself up in the crowd like that.
Brilliant. Aye, well, he wouldn't have really got. He would have been disguised quite well if he was wearing his green and white, because that's what the majority of the home fans were wearing, unless of course he had like ginger hair and you could spot him from a mile away. But that was actually.
Ginger hair with a sombrero, one of the big thick moustaches, isn't it?
You just don't wear the CU Jimmy hat. That was kind of one of the noticeable features of the game, where neither of the teams could wear their famous green and white. Again, I know that we talked about it in the last episode, where we or a couple of episodes ago, where the origins of Real Betis have strong connections with Celtic, but ironically, and it's kind of what happens whenever Celtic play Hibs. Neither of us really wear the green and white on most occasions. So Real Betis, it might have been the third kit possibly. They were wearing blue, and of course we were wearing our third kit as well, wearing white and pink. Hardly traditional, but it is what it is. But it was the game, the spectacle that we were looking forward to, even though the fans couldn't get in the squad. But actually getting to the nitty gritty of the game, going into it, things weren't looking great for us, because we knew that we had Furuhashi out injured, and Forrest, he's not been playing for a while, which has been unfortunate. But a couple of days before, in fact, maybe the one day before the game, we found out that McGregor was out. He was carrying a knock, and Abada, he was observing a religious occasion, which is fair enough. And of course, Giakoumakis, he's not yet match fit, not even fit yet. So we were persevering with a Jetty at that point. And of course, Greg Taylor, our left back, he was out as well. So it was looking bad, and then it looked even worse. Paddy, what was your thoughts whenever you heard of the omissions and who would be looking to set up with? So I'll run you through the lineup, okay? And then I'll ask you what your thoughts were for what we could get out that game. So we had Hart in goals, and by the way, a noticeable mention that he was a captain for the night. Hart in goals. At the back, we've got Juranovic playing at left back again, which he did against Rangers. We've got Starfelt again at left centre back, and on the right centre back, we've got Cameron Carter-Vickers, who had a very good debut in our last match against Ross County, where he scored the goal. And then, of course, we've got your friend Ralston at right back. In the midfield, we've got Roderick and Turnbull, and coming in for Callum McGregor, we've got Ishmael Soro. And then up front, we've got Ajeti, the main man, centre forward. We've got Jota playing on the right midfield, and we've got Montgomery, who is a left back. In pre-season, he played at left mid, but this time he was playing as a kind of almost like a left forward. What was your thoughts going into the game, mate?
Right away, I thought we were pumped. Absolutely pumped. We were threadbare enough as it was. But you go into that and you have that wee bit of optimism, don't you? Even whatever it is, but I wasn't very optimistic, truth be told. I said that to you, didn't I? I thought it was going to be a bit of 4-0 or something, but surprising.
Aye. So I was saying, like, me personally, I was saying we'll be lucky to get away with a draw. Even whenever like Celtic are at full strength playing away in Europe, that's. I don't mean to say that I'm always pessimistic going into those type of ties, but especially whenever you saw that, I was thinking, how are they going to play? But sometimes whenever you're under the cosh, people can surprise you. And McGinty, building on that point about the lineup, the bench. We'd already mentioned the omissions, but looking at the bench, we've got two goalkeepers on the bench. We've got Barkas and we've got Bain. We've got Scales, the new centre back, left wing back, left back. I'm not too sure. The utility player, the Irishman. Not yet played the game for us, but he's on the bench. We've got McCarthy, who did actually come on. We've got Urigide. We've got Shaw. We've got Murray, and we've got Henderson and Welsh. not one attacking threat out the mall. So, as Paddy said, we're really down to the bare bones. What was your expectations for the game, especially whenever you're looking at the players that we're playing against? People like Nabil Fekir, who Liverpool really, really wanted before he moved to Real Betis. You've got the Spanish legend, which is Joaquin. You've got Canales, who played for Real Madrid before, and another guy, a noticeable mention, a guy called Guardado. Remember when? Sorry, I'm going off at a tangent, but give me license, please. Remember whenever we were going to buy F1 Juarez? As soon as I knew that we were going to get Juarez, I looked back. This was like almost a decade ago, and I was looking back at my recorded games for Mexico in the World Cup. And the one player that caught my mind was Guardado. He was a standout player for that Mexico team, and that's going back 10 years ago. And he's plied his trade in Spain ever since. So he's getting on a bit. He's probably in his 30s now, maybe about our age, maybe a wee bit younger. I'm probably doing him just injustice there. But another player that I was aware of anyway. So, sorry, a big loaded question here, but in terms of what we had and our assets against what we were playing against, what was your expectations?
Going into excuse me, lads. Going into the draw, go back a week, 2 weeks ago, I was expecting us to get a point out of this game. Put in a good performance, get a point. Overall, I'm reckoning that we should be looking at getting 9 points, maybe 10 points, try to get second place. Not embarrass ourselves overall in the group. I was hopeful to get something out of this game yesterday. We didn't get anything, and leading up to it, knowing the omissions, I think it works out at about 5 or 6 of our attacking players. If you take in Kyogo, Abada, Forrest, Giamakis was out. You then look at Mikey Johnson, Dembele. I know they're never kind of key features for us in the last few years, but I think we can all safely say that if they were fully fit, they would be in and around the first team squad to some degree.
That's a fair point. They might have given us something to make a substitution in the second
exactly.
half.
If they were there to some capacity, they would be in some sort of bench warmer at some level. So there's definitely a lot of omissions, and knowing how much that was weakening us over the last couple of weeks as well, I didn't expect much at all from yesterday. Just not getting embarrassed was going to be the hope, but we could have got something. If you look at what happened to the whole game, we could have got something, which I'm sure we'll get into. I just want to touch back on, I've got the lineups here as well. As you were mentioning, like the likes of Guardado and Canales, Fekir, Joaquin, Juanmi, these are household names in Spain, in Spanish football. These are not
The goalkeeper, Claudio Bravo.
Claudio Bravo's there. You had Victor Ruiz, Montoya, Miranda. That's your starting lineup. Then you look at their bench.
The manager, Pellegrini. Real Madrid manager.
Look who they brought on though. They brought on Guido Rodriguez. They brought on Alex Moreno, left back. William Carvalho. These again
the Portuguese.
Yeah, and they still had Christian Tello on the bench. They still had Hector Bellerin on the bench, and the Jermaine Pizzella, the defender they brought in from, was it Fiorentina from Italy? They brought in from. These are big names. These are names that Celtic cannot afford to buy, and they're all sitting on their bench in first team. This was no mug of a side at all. So for me, not to be embarrassed by that game was probably the best we could hope for. And actually, on the face of it, after watching the game, we could have got something.
I actually forgot that Manuel Pellegrini was a manager. See, when the manager walked out, I thought, who the fuck's this mad cowboy looking guy?
some shirt he had on.
I'm like, that's that fucking him that used to manage West Ham, isn't it?
I know. The way that he was dressed, it already looked as if he'd retired. You know, it's like he came back from his ranch just to watch a football game.
To be fair, he probably has a ranch out there, based in the do.
Aye. Well, McGinty, as you said, a lot of household names for Real Betis, and it's worth mentioning they finished 6th in La Liga last season. So if you're a Celtic fan and you have been living under a rock, then the news is that we lost 4-3. A flattering scoreline, but a roller coaster of a game. A very, very entertaining game. And Paddy, like me and you, we were thinking like we'd be lucky to come away with a draw. But it's funny how your attitude changes whenever you go 2-0 up within half an hour. So let's kind of start off. Ajeti got the first goal. And I know that you want to lay into Starfelt later on, but I'm just going to give the guy a little bit of credit because Ajeti's goal started off with Starfelt. So Joaquin had the ball.
Moving swiftly on.
This is actually my favourite goal. I'm going to wax lyrical about this. So Joaquin had the ball. He tried to do Starfelt, but Starfelt had a great block. And the block, the ball eventually finds its way to Rogic. Now, by the way, Rogic did a piece of Zidane-esque control, and he evades two of the Betis players, and he feeds Turnbull. At that point, Turnbull plays a delightful floating ball to the right wing, and Jota picks it up. And by the way, that through ball, that was on the outside of his right foot. I just thought that was really majestic. The way that Rogic fed him and the way that he feeds Jota. But Jota at this moment is on the right wing. He sizes up his marker, the left back, Miranda, I believe it is. He does 2 step overs and then a drop of the shoulder, and he fizzes in a ball. And Ajeti at that point bundles it in. I'll just say the word. He bundles it in, okay? He bundles it into the goal. And at that point, the referee, the linesman, I think, puts his flag up and he says it was a handball. So this is our first skirmish, I think, with VAR. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so.
And unfortunately, it went well for us. So I think you said VAR our lad. Did you say? So
I was sitting waiting on it, and I was like, oh no, and I was watching it in my wee man shed, and you guys were ahead of me on the stream, or you were watching it on the telly, or whatever, and I'm like, oh no, what's happened? What's going on? I was like, I'm giddy away. But I eventually came through, but I seen a clip after it, and it was a replay of Postecoglou. See when the goal went in, he's running away like that, and then the next minute he's what's going on here? So I think everybody was kind of at that point.
It was a great start. 13th minute. That's what you want, and thankfully they did the VAR check, and it was a legitimate goal. So you're thinking at that point, brilliant start. But guys, we kept on building on that. Even for the first minute, up until that goal, we were keeping possession, and we were playing like the experienced team. We were playing like the home team at that point. And then eventually we get the second goal on the 27th minute. So that was a counter attack from Celtic. It was actually a counter-attack. It started off at Hart, by the way. Hart played it out to Montgomery to Rogic, and Rogic then fed in Ajeti. Ajeti does a 1-2 with Turnbull, and the final pass from Turnbull, it plays in Ajeti. Ajeti's running into the box, and Claudio Bravo comes out. Ajeti gets the final touch, but it's taken him away from goal. Claudio Bravo clears him out, and he does like a flip over the goalkeeper. Quite impressive, actually. And it's a penalty. So Claudio Bravo gets the yellow card. McGinty, were you happy with that yellow card and a penalty? I don't think it was a red card.
Did he get a yellow card for that? I didn't realise he did. I remember watching it back and thinking, yeah, replays, definitely it's a penalty. Ajeti, I think, done marvellously well to get the touch on the ball to take it away from the goalkeeper. He knew exactly what he was doing. The keeper was sliding in and he goes over the top of him. Keeper takes him out. It's a great contact on the player, not overly, but it's a sliding movement in that takes the player out. Is definitely a penalty. He's done the right thing by taking the ball away. If he knocked it towards the keeper would have saved the ball and then it wouldn't have been a penalty. So Ajeti's done the perfect thing to get that penalty. I didn't realise he got the yellow card though, because I did remember thinking it's good that he's not sent him off because the ball's going away from the goal, so it's not a goal scoring opportunity. But penalty with the right thing with that whole double, I don't think they're meant to be double punishing players for these kind of things, like penalty and a send off. Pretty harsh.
Double jeopardy. Well, it happens. But the moment of the moment of the actual penalty, guess who steps up? Josip Juranovic. What is this now? Is a third game for Celtic? Aye. By the way, whenever he took that penalty, whenever he was standing there, he didn't even have like a big run up. He was just standing maybe like 3, 4, 5 yards away from the ball. And the look in his face when the camera panned into him, he looked Cantona-esque. He looked so confident. If I was to actually borrow a quote from the movie Fight Club, he was calm as a Hindu cow. And the way that he took that penalty, he fizzed it in with his right foot, and Claudio Bravo had no chance. What a penalty. Paddy, were you surprised that it was him who stepped up for the penalty?
I thought Turnbull would have took it, or even Ajeti. But I just seen this wee tiny me man walking up to take a penalty. What's that? Juranovic, listen, sorry to interject here, but I've just checked here, mate. You're talking rubbish. Bravo never get booked.
He should have get booked.
Should have get booked. You're right.
I'm fine with it. As a penalty gets conceded, the ball was going in the opposite direction of the goal. Not a goal scoring opportunity at that point. Ajeti did the right thing to do that, to claim the penalty, because he clearly wasn't going to beat the keeper. I think he understood that. It's very smart from him, I think, in a proper way. But yeah, penalty. Juranovic steps up, a very professional penalty, but for somebody you wouldn't think being your fullback, he took it up, full of confidence, no arguing. Who was it? Who was not arguing, but he was debating who was going to take the penalty, and he got a wee high five off them just before he took the penalty. The commentators were saying.
I didn't even notice that.
There was somebody, I can't remember who it was. Was it a Turnbull, somebody like that, or was it Rogic? There was somebody that was talking to him about taking the penalty, and seemingly puts the ball down, wee high five, no, I've got it, off he goes. Confidence in him. And if he wants to take every penalty like that, I'm very happy.
That's what you want to see. Like whenever a new player comes into the Celtic team, like we need leaders. So for me, that's exactly what I want to see. A wee guy. He looks like European quality, completely. Aye.
Surely then that's kind of been noticed in training. You would think, you know what I mean, that this guy can take penalties.
But the fact is, your fullback stepping up, surely something's been noted there.
I was sure that Turnbull was your kind of second pick for penalties. But obviously the first was Edward, I think. But Turnbull had a few penalties last season, and Juranovic stepped up and took it. But so that's obviously something that's been noticed in training, I would think, or maybe that's a reputation he's came with.
Aye. Another thing that we probably, or in fact, maybe the only thing that we missed whenever we did our scouting on YouTube, the highly scientific scouting that we do, we saw what is a tribute spare, but we never actually knew that he might be possibly a dead ball specialist, whether it be a penalty or from a free kick. The guy certainly radiates confidence anyway. Again, playing on the left back rather than right back, which is his natural position. He took to it. He absolutely took to it. So another good performance from him, I think, overall. But moving on from that, we're still in the first half. We're 2-0 up, and we get another chance. Jota on the right wing. He has a one-on-one with the keeper. It is at a difficult angle, and Claudio Bravo is coming out to smother him. He does try to kind of chip him, and it might have been the wrong approach to take. I don't know if he could have fed in Ajeti, but at that point you were thinking 3-0 up. Like that would be, you'd be thinking as a Celtic fan away in Europe, we're going to get a nosebleed right now because we're just not used to that sort of thing. But at that point, things did change. Guys, let's move on to Sorrow before we talk about the avalanche of goals that we conceded in this game. Sorrow got a yellow card in the 8th minute. He put his foot down, studs down on Nabil Fekir. There was no malice to it. It was just silly because Juranovic was already blocking Nabil Fekir down at the left back position. He had nowhere to progress apart from going back inside, and all Sorrow had to do was kind of like shield him, just press him. But Sorrow just goes right in. He took it, and he puts his foot down in the Nabil Fekir. At that point, our mate Daza, who's not here tonight, he was saying on WhatsApp, he's lucky he never get a red card. McGinty, what was your thoughts on that one? Naivety from Sorrow?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've seen it kind of creeping into his game whenever we've seen him so far this season. He's still the same player that we knew last year, kind of eager to get in amongst it. Not a dirty player, I wouldn't say, not intentionally anyway, but he's the sort of player who wants to get in the thick of it. He wants to break up plays and disrupt the opponents. But he looks so much more raw this season and more untamed compared to last year where he was starting to get a bit of a run. So it's a bit disappointing to see him being this kind of unpolished at this point. But I think as Paddy was mentioning in group chats as well, at some point you start thinking you need to take this guy off. There's a second point later on after that challenge, which Daza was right. Other referees in other circumstances could have been a red card studs on top of ankles bent. You've seen it before. I think he's not got away with it because there was no malice, but he's lucky not to have seen a red, I think. But there's a second yellow, potential of the second yellow later on, which I took a wee note of it when it happened. The Sorrow comes through the back of one of the Betis players. It might have been Borja Ingles, but I'm not entirely sure. And all the Betis players started, once the play stopped, all the Betis players started to harass the ref to try and get him a second yellow card. I think it was Guardado that got booked for protesting it, I think. Which it was good to see from the referee was going to take any of that shit. Which I don't think Betis were that kind of team overall. I think a wee bit of heatedness in that moment. Obviously, they were 2-0 down at that point as well. You could see.
Do you think Sorrow's? Sorry for interrupting, but
no.
do you think Sorrow actually inspired the Betis players? Like they really get passionate at that point.
A little bit, they really did. You saw when they got the equaliser, the passion, just getting that equaliser on top of the advertising holders, that you could see it in them. They were very built up in vigour about it, sort of thing.
Did Nabil Fekir, once they scored, not like, okay, so
booted the ball to hell? Yes.
Yeah. So Miranda gets the goal in the 32nd minute, and then two minutes later, Juanmi gets the goal in the 34th minute. I don't know if it was the first goal or the second goal for Betis, but Celtic are about to take like the kickoff again, and Nabil Fekir just boots out the crowd.
Yeah, seemingly there's two balls on the pitch, or there's confusion, or whatever. There's a whole protest about it, but yeah.
And he gets a yellow card.
Yeah, for booting the ball away, which seemed a bit daft if it was an honest two balls on the pitch situation. Somebody had to say it. But back to Sorrell, just to touch on his potential of the second yellow. I did note that later on, and I think it's probably good refereeing, although I don't think he had the greatest of games. I don't think he had a great handle on the players. But there's a moment later on there, Wanmi's going through on our right hand side, and he actually bundles over the top of Ralston in our box in exactly the same manner that Sorrell had done it for the potential of the second yellow card, and nothing gets made of it, which always is intriguing to me when you see that happen in a football pitch, where it's like, well, you wanted the yellow there, where's your standards, sort of thing. You're going through the back of him, so it's nice to see that the referee at least wasn't buying it either way.
Yeah. So I Sorrow in the first half. It almost kind of reminds me of like Benzema for Real Madrid last season. He was talking about one of his players. I don't know if it was Vinicius Junior or was it Rodrigo, but he was saying that he actually said it to one of his other teammates during the game. He said, he is playing against us. And I actually said that in a WhatsApp chat that Sorrow is playing against us. It looked like he was on a mission to rile up the crowd, rile up the Betis players, and really test the patience of the referee. I was getting emotional. But yeah, so we can see 2 goals on the 32nd and 34th minute. And you were thinking like, oh, we almost went 3-0 up, and now we're back to 2 each. And you're like, all right, okay, back to square one. But the momentum at that point was well and truly shifting. Paddy, we're going into the second half. Were you expecting a change, notably Sorrow coming off?
Well, as I said to you last night, I was fucking scouting and balling at the telly. He should have been took off about 40 minutes in, easily. I was definitely expecting him to be took off at half time, and then I see him.
We've got McCarthy.
I see him waddling out, and I'm like, "Fuck are you doing?" You know what I mean? The guy's a red card waiting to happen, and
yeah, it's
sorry, the guy was a red card waiting to happen, and he's back out in the park. You know what I mean? Just say you've got McCarthy on the bench. Why not bring him on? I think he came on 55 minutes.
I think it's very telling about the lack of depth that we've got now. That especially when you see the 4, 5, 6 kind of attacking players out, you got Julian out as well in the back line. After that, there's really no much else going on in the club depth wise, and clearly we're not convinced that McCarthy's able to play, 60 minutes or so at this stage, which is quite baffling. Starting to wonder what he's going to actually offer to us now.
Fair enough. You've got him on the bench, so it's not as if
to use him. I mean,
it's not as if you started him right, but you've obviously got Sorrow there playing, and he's running a bit like a headless chicken. You know what I mean? You're expecting a performance like N'Golo Kante, and you end up with a Landry and Nguemo. You know what I mean? The guy. So if you've got McCarthy sitting there, fair enough. If he's been told, look, we're maybe going to give you half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. But he's going to step up to the plate, and the manager's going to step up to the plate and say, listen, you need to get out there because this guy's going to get sent off. What's an extra 10 minutes in McCarthy's boots?
to save ourselves.
Instead of us being 10 men down. And I mean, so I think it was it after Sorrow got booked that, was it the second goal that he basically gave away, the one where the defence was kind of packed and Sorrow's kind of on the outside of the box?
No, I think that's the third one. The second one was the one that split the defence. I think Carter Vickers plays them on, and Hart kind of stands still.
Well, there you are. That's even worse than if that was the third one, because the guy shouldn't have been on the park. The manager took him off straight away. The manager's shown complete madness there, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Well, as I said, okay, in the first half, we lose 2 goals in 2 minutes. In the second half, again, no changes and no visible renewed urgency from Celtic. And then we concede 2 goals in 3 minutes this time. Iglesias gets his goal on the 50th minute, and then Joanme gets his second of the night on the 53rd minute. It was actually quite a cute volley from which I think went in off the post. That was quite a nice goal from Betis. And we're 4-2 down. The crowd are rocking. Betis had played terribly in the first half an hour, but they really came back at that point. It looked like a great European night to be a Betis fan. At that point, Celtic really had to hold it together. So during that period of time, we bring on McCarthy. McCarthy, we tried to kind of show things up to an extent. But again, with Celtic, we can't play for draws, and neither should we. Neither should any football team. And we kind of keep plodding on. At that point, by the way, in the second half, I noticed a tactical change from Pellegrini. They look to be more counter-attacking, and it's actually worthwhile noting at this point the possession, the stats. We had 60% possession, and they had 40%, of course. I think that was a lot down to their second half tactics, where they realised that they were too open, hence our 2 goals in the first half, and they showed things up by being much more counter-attacking. So they let us have the ball in the second half to an extent, and they kind of picked us off at that point, which was quite astute from Pellegrini, is what you would expect. He managed to turn things around.
I wouldn't even call it astute, mate. I would just call it simple managing. If you're well ahead of the game, like we were in the first half, we were 2-0 up. Why the hell? We nearly scored 3 again. But if you're 2-0 up and you're Celtic and you don't particularly go and get the kind of instant kind of impacts away from home, you can't just keep going and attacking. It's noble and it's valiant, right? That you go out and you play with that kind of intent, but you need to have a balance. It's good. It's very, very good that you go out on the front foot and you go and try and score. I'm delighted with that, because we've wanted that for a long, long time, especially for Celtic in Europe away. But when you're up there and you're winning 2-0 and you just continue to try and play that, and then teams wise up and they just start picking you off.
I agree. In fact, right, okay, I'll ask you about that. We'll finish off with the final goal for Celtic to bring it back to 4-3, and then I'll go into that question. But thanks for kind of triggering that in my mind. So Celtic get our third goal to make it 4-3 on the 87th minute. At that point in the WhatsApp chat, Paddy was clamouring for Ralston to be taken off because he thinks he's such a liability. But obviously Paddy doesn't know what he's talking about, because Ralston gets his third goal of the season. It is a set piece from the left wing by Turnbull. He's swinging it into the box, and Ralston headers it in from a few yards out. That's one thing that I've been kind of crying out for Celtic from like this season and last season, to actually be effective at set pieces. Whether we're capable of it right now with our personnel in our box and in the opposition box, I want to see more of it. We need leaders. We need physical players who can actually be effective because set pieces are a massive part of the game. If you don't recognise that, then you're being totally naive. But aye, of course. So we bring it back to 4-3, and it was quite flattering at that point. As I said, possession 60 for us, 40 for them. 4-3. It looks like a close game, but they went 4-2 up, and it looked really, really a comprehensive victory for them at that point anyway, and they could have made it 5-2. But Paddy, as what you were saying, in terms of like changing tactics, has Postecoglou demonstrated to you that he can change tactics, or is it just simply gung ho? We'll score more than what you do.
I enjoy the attacking philosophy that you brought into the team. I think everybody enjoys attacking football. The Celtic fan, any fan. But you look at the second AZ game. The tactics there were pretty poor. We were talking about that during the game.
Aye, the home and the away game, or just the away game?
No, just the away game. The AZ kind of dominated that game. The last 15 minutes of the first half, and we were all talking, we need change, we need to do this and do that, and we literally went out and played the exact same way. You know what I mean? And then last night, yesterday, even, sorry, we go 2 up, we nearly go 3 up. If it wasn't for Joe Hart, you know what I mean? 2 cracking saves. The first one was amazing. Betis would have been, what was it, 6 up. But no, there was a bit of naivety there, I think. I listened to his comments after the game, and he's enforcing his view that we need to attack, but that's okay. But you just can't just go and attack all the time. You need to be clever, because if you're playing at Betis' home, right? They're mugs, as we've spoke about. They grew into the game. It was certainly a surprise that we went 2-0 up, and we were just waiting for something to happen, and it came to Betis. You know what I mean? And we just played the same, and Betis took advantage of that.
Aye. See that clip that Celtic were so eager to put on our social media. That training ground clip of Postecoglou saying to the fans, we are saying to the players, we'll keep playing, and whenever the play stops, we'll resume ASAP. They'll get tired. We won't get tired. We'll rest whenever we've won the game. But in certain games, like as you say, you need to manage the game. Sometimes you need to time waste. It's call it the dark arts, but if we're playing against streetwise opposition, then we need to be streetwise as well. You know, don't take a knife to a gunfight, for example. You know what I mean? I know I'm being extreme there, but you need to be streetwise.
It's not even time wasting, mate. See, if you know fine well that teams are going to come and attack you.
If Hart has got a goal kick, if Hart's going to take a goal kick, do you want him to take it right that second, or do you want him to wait 10 seconds and assess the play, calm down the players? Like, you need to be streetwise. Come on.
A guy with his experience should be able to read the game and know if we're needing a bit of urgency or we're needing to just calm down a wee bit. But as I say, football comes in waves. You know what I mean? If you take the game in the first 20 minutes, then it's a given that unless you're playing a totally rubbish team or a team that's very, very defensive, we're playing an attacking team. They're going to come at you. Do you know what I mean? You can't just say, right, just keep going, do what you're doing, and just let them do what they're doing. I mean, they were pretty good. They were really good doing the wings, and we were still playing with that inverted fullback kind of system. And for me, I don't like it. I think it's rubbish, especially when you're coming up against a team that do wing play. You know what I mean? And you seen that when was it the first goal? The one that Ralston basically ended up as like a fucking defensive midfielder, and Sorrow was at right back, and Sorrow. Sorry, that was a cross, wasn't it? No, what goal was that? Sorry, guys. I've totally lost here.
I'll tell you, I would have actually written down play-by-play for the 4 goals that they scored, but I don't want to drag on this episode for too long. But, McGinty, can I ask you a question? How do we iron out our defensive mistakes?
I think the defensive issues from last night are different from what we saw at the start of the season. we've definitely got better players. I think we've got more experienced players in the likes of Carter Vickers, Juranovic, and Hart in that kind of back five. We others still to come in. I don't think we were as exposed last night in the last couple of games as we were when we tried playing preseason and in the qualifiers. So I think the backline's getting better. We just need to be more switched on. Guys like the was it the second goal where it gets cut through, as we said earlier, we Hart kind of standing looking at it. He should have closed that down sooner. That's just being switched on for me. Betis were always going to score a couple of goals. We said it at the start that we expected a point and put in a good performance sort of thing, but we didn't really expect the win. So you can't go into every game when you're playing Leverkusen, Betis, and likes to think that you're going to keep sheets. We're not. These are quality teams with dangerous players. They're going to score goals, and they did. We just need to be a bit more, as you said, streetwise when you're coming into these games. Be it from the players to be switched on and know what they're coming up against, and the manager to realise, hold on a minute here, they like to play attacking counter-attack football down the wings. The inverted fullbacks, maybe do that less so often. Maybe get them more into a flat back four so they can cover that space a little bit better. Because it's one thing having Juranovic and Ralston looking quite comfortable bombing forward and going into the midfield, but when the cover is Mali Sorrow filling in at right back, that ain't the same thing. And that's a danger. So it's more sensible to be a bit more, as you said, streetwise, go to the flat force, put out the inverted wing back thing. Not all the time, because when we're playing better, lesser oppositions as such, it is a great thing to see, and it's great to get all these goals that we're getting. As we said, we scored 3 last night. We had 1 disallowed. We had Rogic hit the post, which I think Rogic had a fantastic game last night, and again, he lasted the whole 90 minutes, so props to him on the back of international duty. I think on any other day, if we are a little bit more streetwise, that's 4-2 to us as opposed to 4-3 to them. So overall, on the game as a whole, I'm actually quite happy with it. It wasn't a poor game.
Well, I've got a few questions for you guys, but before we move on to them, I just want to kind of touch on the post-match comments from Postecoglou. He was talking to Celtic TV, and he said, "I couldn't ask any more from the players. The football we played was exactly the type of team we want to be. I don't think there was much between the teams. We probably had an equal amount of chances, and they took more than we did. There are areas we still want to improve on, but when you come away from home and score 3 goals and create many more chances apart from that one, I think moving forward there are some good signs here." He did move on when he was talking to another interviewer. He did defend our defence, and he said that Cameron Vickers, this is what his second game now. Juranovic is only his third game. Carol Starfelt, Paddy's mate, he's new as well. So he did defend that. But it is what it is. Again, you said we didn't get torn apart, and you're probably right. We were playing, yeah, on paper, a better caliber of opposition. We're playing away from home, and it's a new defence, and they're still gelling. But to focus on the positives, as we said before the game, we weren't expecting much. Ajeti, Paddy, green shoots of recovery from Ajeti. What do you think? Do you think it can be a good competition for Giakoumakis? We don't know what Giakoumakis is really going to bring yet, but he scored, what, 2 goals against yeah, 2 goals against Ross County, and 1 goal last night against Betis. That's not bad. His confidence is up. Are you happy with that?
If you've got a striker that's scoring goals, you can't kind of grumble with that. I think everybody was talking about his play outside of scoring early on in the season when he was getting a few snippets of game time, that he wasn't really doing much, wasn't really running. But last night you looked at him and he was pretty sharp. Obviously the one for the penalty, he was onto that little flash, which was good. So if his confidence is up, that's ideal, because you're going to need competition, especially with Edward away.
Totally. And it's probably a more. He looks more reliable than what we could expect from Griffiths right now. I don't know what Griffiths is going to do at Dundee, but he looks like one of those types of guys where if you get the delivery right, to get the service right, then he can capitalise on it. And he, at times, he was bullying the defence. He's a strong guy.
He looks a lot fat as well, didn't he, for last season? He looks a lot leaner.
Totally. I saw him in Sainsbury's, as you guys know, like a couple of weeks back, and I checked in the guy's shopping trolley, and he had a lot of vegetables. So I'm just saying that he's taking things serious.
So you got the inside scoop on his dietary.
You've saw the photo. McGinty, Jota's performance. Now, I'm not going to take any credit for this, but when I watched Jota's YouTube clips, I thought he could be a Paddy Roberts type, continental type player, with maybe a wee bit. Sorry if I can get the words out of my mouth. A little bit more pace than Paddy Roberts. I thought Jota was very, very good. He looked reliable. Whenever you gave him the ball, you could trust him with it. He would get us up the pitch. Miranda, the left back, didn't have a comfortable night against Jota. What was your thoughts on the guy?
I think he did very well last night. I think you definitely see the style of play that he can bring, that kind of Portuguese European style, when we're playing in Europe against a Spanish mob like Betis. He doesn't drop the shoulder as much as what Paddy Robert used to do to try and like turn your man and get a wee kind of burst of speed. But he likes to run with the ball at his feet. He likes to do the little step over to kind of bamboozle the opponent. He can whip in a decent ball. He's definitely a player to have for a different kind of outlet, especially a different one from the likes of Abadu, who's a lot more powerful and a lot more direct on that right side. So yeah, I'm very impressed with him last night. He helped a lot with Rogic and Ajeti for the goals, and I think there's a lot more to come from him. He definitely offers us something a little bit different.
It was definitely a good outlet last night.
Yeah,
very. It was creative. It was fast. Didn't show any fear. Maybe it's a good thing, obviously, because he was playing for Valladolid. It was Valladolid last season. He was playing in La Liga. He brought that experience last night. George Michael definitely looked. he looked continental, which was good. Listen, all the signs are there that we've got a good, really good attacking setup. You know what I mean? We've got guys out. Furahashi's out. Forrester's out. Abada couldn't play last night because he was doing Yom Kippur. It's just we just need to sort that defence out big time. We need to sort out the system defensively. Whether the personnel's no there to play Postacoglu's formation or system setup, I don't know. Or whether these guys just aren't good enough for me to get my neb in about Starfelt before you try and ignore me on that one, Gav. Guys like him just aren't cutting it now. I'm not writing them off, but they're just not cutting it. Big Vickers, that was his first European game. Only second game for Celtic. He had a good couple of crunching tackles, looked big, strong and robust. But then again, in other tackles, he looked very meek, very hesitant. So is that him? Is that him personal, or is that him being part of a system where you've got players beside you and you don't know what they're doing? You know what I mean? If you've got fullbacks that are coming inside, like where is the left-sided centre back? Where does he go? Does he go to left back?
Yeah. Who holds the line and who runs back to track? You know exactly. One wins the ball, one tidies in behind them, that sort of thing. You know, like we're talking about that. Like us three were talking about that a while ago. Like the type of centre backs that you have the attacking one, and then you have the ball playing one. You know, like your Vidic and your Ferdinand, that sort of thing. Your Pallister and Steve Bruce, that sort of thing. a random one, but they were bloody well successful. Another noticeable one. We can't leave this guy out. Monty. So he's been thrown into the deep end and needs must because, as you can see for the bench, we don't have that much depth. McGinty, a big advocate for youth coming through Celtic. What was your impressions on Monty?
Overall, he's taken me a little bit by surprise. I didn't expect him to be in and around the first team at all this year, to be honest. But he's been much like Stephen Wilson Ralston this season so far. No really done anything wrong. He's not done overly much to like wow us in the way that Tierney did at left back or looking at the wingers of the past because he's played at both positions. but he's been solid. He's been confident in his play. He's been assured of himself. He's not chickened out of any balls really. He's tracked men back and kind of hustled people into the corner flags to try and help defensively. He's a young lad that's got the world at his feet as far as his career at Celtic's concerned, and he could go either way. He could end up being a winger here, or he could be a fullback. It depends how he wants to go.
Yeah, well, as we kind of said at the start when we were going through the lineup, we mentioned that Monty was almost kind of playing it left forward tonight, and he has played at left back. He has played at left midfield. Paddy, one of the characteristics that I've noticed of Monty was that he loves cutting inside. So we know about the inverted fullbacks that Postecoglou has been encouraging, but Monty, one of the best ways that he has in his armory to beat a player is to go in the inside, not on the outside. And he actually drives the player through the middle. And at that point, he's opening up options. He's creating that overload, and he can lay it off to a midfielder, to a winger, or to a forward. I'm loving what he's got. And if only he can develop that, and of course, solidify himself as a defender, first and foremost. As McGinty said, he's got the world at his feet.
And that's the question, though. Is he going to be a defender or is he going to be a winger? You know what I mean? I would imagine that he's going to be an impact kind of player this season. You know what I mean? He's going to be used kind of sparingly, which is maybe good because you've got guys like you've got Scales coming. Now you would imagine he's going to be there or thereabouts at left back. You're going to assume that maybe Jota, Abada, and Kyogo are going to be used at the left hand side, kind of rotationally maybe. So is he going to be allowed to develop this season? Because he does look good. He's impressed me for pre-season, and he's played, as you say, played left back, played left wing, and he's no looked out of place. Most of the time, he didn't really affect a lot last night, but it was what he did. It was decent for an 18-year-old boy. I think he's 18 or 19. But aye, it's good to see.
I'm looking forward to. I don't mean this in a weird way, but like whenever we were talking about Tierney, whenever he started out as a teenager, he was good, but his physical development, and I'm looking forward to seeing the physical development that Montgomery has and how that enhances his ability on the field. I'm looking forward to that as long as we can keep the guy, because if the guy turns in these types of performances, then we're going to get certain predators from England looking at the guy. But aye, it's looking really good. Guys, as we said, 4-3 to Betis, a flattering scoreline. There's a lot of positives to take, and maybe the negatives. The negatives are more just kind of characteristic of us still in this bedding in thing. We've got a new defence. Mistakes are going to happen. Communication is still going to be built, but midfield to up front, we're looking good. And of course, we can't forget the fact that we had McGregor, Abada, Kyogo, Giakoumakis, Taylor, and Forrest, who were not present tonight. So let's keep it in perspective, but things are looking good. We've done ourselves justice, and a great experience for people like Monty, for example. But guys, kind of wrapping up for tonight, and for the viewers, the next game is Livingston. We're playing them away on Sunday. Thankfully, Lyndon Dykes no longer plays in Scotland, so we might have better success on that AstroTurf pitch. So that'll be Sunday, 3 p.m. on the 19th of September. We'll do a post-match review afterwards, and hopefully we've got something to celebrate at that point. But guys, McGinty, final thoughts on tonight's podcast episode.
I think you covered it there with the roundup of the game. We didn't embarrass ourselves. It's good learning experience for some of the younger ones, and we definitely need to take perspective that there's a good 6 or 7 players who would be in that starting 11 who are not there. As you said, your Forrest, your Badas, your Kyogos, your Julians, your McGregors, they would all have started last night if they were all fit. And we got 4-3 beat. That's not a sentence. We got beat 4-3 last night. We were 2-0 up at one point. We could have equalised it at another point. We could have taken the lead at other points. So, fair play to us. It wasn't the worst result in our hit.
And Paddy, overall, still optimistic?
I've spoken in the past about wanting us to go into the European games and go and attack, but there needs to be some sort of balance. There does, because you look at that last night. We just tried to attack, and we left ourselves exposed at the back, especially with a defence that's calamitous at this previous moment, and it's been this way for a long time. Set pieces, tracking men, whatever you want to fling at them. Again, positive signs, yes, attacking, but we need to seriously kind of shore up at the back and start being more solid. Hopefully the guys coming back from injury or the new guys coming into the squad will help alleviate kind of the problems that we had last night by the threadbare bones of the squad. But let's just take that as experience, take the positives, work on the negatives, go and beat Livingston on Sunday, and then take it from there.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, okay, so to the viewers, thank you very much for watching. And one thing I want to kind of point out to the viewers, Rogic, we really did appreciate him tonight. I don't think we gave him too much of a talking space to kind of highlight exactly how good he was. But Rogic, he didn't deserve to be on the losing side that night. But anyway, to the viewers, thank you very, very much for watching. Again, please hit subscribe, please hit the like button. And if you had a different perspective on the game from what we did, then please leave a comment to kind of tell us what you thought. But anyway, thank you from myself, from McGinty and Paddy, and the Jungle Gyms in general. Thank you, and have a good night.
Hail, hail.